Toyota bZ4X, this vehicle is Toyota's very first mass market electric car globally. You know, back in the day, we had the RAV4 electric vehicle that was co-developed with Tesla of all people at the time, but here we have is a fully developed Toyota battery electric vehicle that has 201 horsepower. This particular model is a front wheel drive, but you can get it in a dual motor all-wheel drive variant. All right, first 0 to 60 in the front wheel drive bZ4X. .96 to 60 and 7.42 to 100 kilometers per hour. We'll take traction control off this time. And 7.10, so you can chalk it up to be about a 7-second 0 to 60 electric car. This has about a 71 kilowatt hour battery, and Toyota expects you to get around 242 miles. I've been averaging about 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour, which gives me about, with the usable battery of a 64 kilowatts, gives me about 260 miles of range or so, maybe a little bit more than that. So it is very, very efficient, and we'll talk about how it drives here in a little bit once we get on the road. We have triple beam LED headlights, and for the high beams, there's another piece right in the middle, which is going to be a quad beam. So it's very premium lighting, what you would typically see in a Lexus vehicle. And this is Lexus vehicle pricing. This limited trim, the top of the line trim, comes at over $50,000 US. The front end though does share a lot of similarities with the new Toyota Crown, so make sure to watch out my new Toyota Crown review. It shares the same hammerhead design language. What it doesn't share with the Crown though is these very striking charcoal painted fenders that not only go around the wheel, but they flow into the front bumper. And it might be hard to see, but this is not like a glossy black. It's actually kind of like a sparkly charcoal. And I'm glad they went with that if they had to do a black color, but honestly, I'd prefer this to be fully paint matched around the wheel arches. Now, since we're over here, we can talk about charging. This is not the strength of the bZ4X, but I like the attention to detail here with the spring-loaded charging aspects here of the CCS one charger. Now, this will charge about 150 kilowatts on DC fast charging. It is definitely probably the weakest aspect of this vehicle is the charging rates of the bZ4X, but if you're charging it at home, that shouldn't be an issue 99% of the time. This has the larger wheels, 20-inch wheels here, and if you get the, let's say the XLE model, you'll have smaller wheels that give you better range. I do like these wheels. I think they match this vehicle, and especially with the silver paint color. Now, this vehicle is striking. I have been getting a ton of looks this week with the bZ4X. That most people have no idea what it is. It is very unique, it's very futuristic, and those fender arches are definitely going to get your attention if anything else. Now, I actually saw my first bZX in the public this week on the road, and it is very striking at night. You can see these rear taillights that look very, very edgy. Next generation Toyota, not only with the light bar, but like the individual LEDs. Well, maybe not individual, but since there's a plastic inside here, it looks like they're individual lights. It's a clever way for Toyota to make it look layered and very high-tech. Turning on the turn indicator, this is fully LED, and your reverse light will be nestled right in there. And as we come to the front, the turn indicator is exactly where the daytime running light was. So we open up the lift gate here, tons of cargo capacity. Not only that, I love how open this rear hatch is. A lot of hatches maybe will pivot around here. No, the bZ4X goes pretty much all the way up until the rear headrest, which is quite phenomenal for cargo space. Of course, these seats will fold down. You have a tonneau cover. This has a JBL audio here in this limited trim. You have one LED light back here. It would have been nice, Toyota, you have it in your hybrids to have an AC outlet here. Don't see that here on the bZ4X. Automatic lift gate. We're gonna get into the back seat. Been taking my kids to school in here this week, and there is tons of legroom for them. This opens up, it's a completely flat floor, maybe a 1-inch rise down here, but the materials back here are pretty decent. And this is my nitpick of the entire vehicles, will flow into the front seat in a little bit. is that we have tons of glossy black fingerprint, dust and hair collecting and sun reflecting piano black plastic in here. Now, I'm happy with this light gray interior, really brightens up the experience. We have USB-Cs for each passenger back here, or should I say two, because you can fit a third person in the middle. We do have heated outboard seats and vents. The AC in here does work absolutely phenomenal. Soft back to the chairs here with a mat pocket on each side. You got the pano roof on this model as well. Additional map light ahead that the kids love to keep on. And then we have maybe a little phone holder, a book holder, and then a double cup holder there as well. Getting in the front seat here, same sort of situation we had in the back seat. It would have been nice to maybe have a JBL logo on here, but instead it's on the A-pillar, that's all right. But lots of glossy black. A little silver stripe here that kind of matches a silver stripe behind, or that runs between the front headlights as well. Closing the door. This sort of setup we actually see in the new Prius. We have the steering wheel here, and then we have the 7-inch screen that sits above it and kind of negates any sort of necessity for a head-up display, because it is essentially sitting right below the line of sight of the windshield. It cuts in my perspective, maybe a ½ inch or so into the windshield, but I could definitely see future iterations not only having a larger screen, but it really slimming down the bezel here, because the screen actually ends here. So if we can slim this down, and then I have even better visibility. And how great would it be if Toyota allowed this to be movable? I think that should be an option in the future as well. We have a large 12-inch screen here, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, no volume knob in this car, which drives me a little bit wild. Instead, I have to smash the volume plus and minus buttons. They are dedicated, they're not touch capacitive, they're real buttons, but come on, Toyota, you have real volume knobs in your Crown and pretty much all your other models. Don't know why they didn't include it here. This is a touch capacitive panel, which it's not ideal, but at least I have manual fan control switches. I can direct where the air is going with a manual switch, as well as temperature control. But what I do really like about this is that I have dedicated buttons, or should I say placements, for these touch capacitive interface. So like, I don't have to think about the buttons going away if the screen changes. They're always there. Heated seat is always there. It's easy to get to. So Toyota has done a great job with ergonomics, but of course, me being a traditional enthusiast, I would like to see full-on buttons there, because check this out. If I turn the car off, there we go. It took a while, because actually the lights stayed on for quite some time, as well as the screen over here stayed on for quite some time. Really, the only illumination left looks to be this power button, which just turned on, actually, not the car, but the electronics there, which is quite interesting that they allow you to turn that on, even when the, maybe it senses that the car or the key is in the car, which is strange. I've never seen that before, where you can just turn on the screen and not the rest of the car. But anyways, I'm gonna turn the rest of the car on. It's getting stuffy. You can see the lights brighten up there for you guys. This is all shiny black plastic here. I do like this radial dial to put into reverse, neutral, park. We do, I guess I can show you the 360 camera here. It's pretty high resolution, even in the low light right now. I'm gonna put it back in park, because it's gonna beep at me since I don't have my seat buckle on. Couple driving modes. I already showed you probably the 0 to 60, so I keep it in eco mode actually all the time. I haven't noticed a big difference between eco and normal. This is your one pedal driving, or should I say, you know, it's not true one pedal, but we'll talk about that when we start driving it. Auto brake hold, it is not memory, unfortunately, so when you turn the car off, it doesn't remember. This is kind of like that heat lamp technology that Toyota's baked in. It'll warm up right underneath the dash here. There is no glove box under here, by the way, which is unfortunate. That's why the manual and everything is down here in this little cubby. The only other storage space is right in here. But let's get back to that interior heating. On the driver's side, my legs are getting warmed up because it is right on the bottom of the steering wheel column, and that thing is, gosh, I can barely put my hand on it. It's super, super hot, and that will help extend your range in the wintertime, which I will never have down here in sunny Palm Tree, Florida. I have no way to disable this wireless charger, and if I want to have my phone plugged in for wired Android Auto, I can't close this. So it's kind of an awkward area, because I can't really put my phone in here because I don't trust the wireless charger to not charge it. And yeah, it's just an awkward situation. I wish this was a USB-C and placed somewhere else to integrate with the screen, but it is what it is. If I close this, you see this, of course, glossy black, which I prefer not to have that glossy black because it'll blind me in the day, but there's kind of like this pattern on the inside where I can actually see through and see if the phone is charging and whatnot. But it is kind of an awkward area in this car with, yeah, so much glossy black plastic like I mentioned earlier. I like how deep these cup holders are. My drinks always feel super secure when I'm moving around and driving the car. Like I mentioned, a little cargo space in here. No light in there to illuminate at night, unfortunately. I haven't talked about build quality or materials. I haven't gotten any rattles. Everything feels super well built in here. I would say like Lexus quality in terms of fit and finish. And I really like this cloth material here. This is all soft touch. It feels really, really nice. In my opinion, I would take, you know, like a cloth or fabric like interior touches over pretty much anything that isn't wood. So I really like what Toyota has done here, and it goes all the way around, and it's that soft kind of gel-like memory gel all the way across the dash. I really enjoy it. A couple of USB-Cs down here, one for each passenger, and an additional 12 volt down below, only 120 watts. I've seen gas cars with 150, 180 watts of power from the 12 volts. Driving my kids to school this week, putting on over 120 miles on the clock here. 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour. It's not as easy to say as like miles per gallon, but it is, I think, one of the most efficient electric cars I've driven, and which is going to surprise a lot of you guys. So in theory, cost of running this thing is going to be pretty low compared to gas cars. Absolutely. I'll put up some metrics on the screen. I'll do some napkin math for you guys to compare this maybe to like a Toyota hybrid RAV4 in terms of fueling. And then, you know, with an electric car, or even a lot of Toyota's hybrids, when you're sitting at a stop, there are no vibrations going on. It's very quiet. I mean, the blinker's almost obnoxiously loud now. Not that it is, but since there's no other noises going on, I like to turn it off and then turn it back on when the light goes green, essentially. Space-wise, I feel like a glove in here. These seats are very wide, very accommodating. A good amount of bolstering here for my thighs, even though I wish I had some thigh extension at the bottom. No digital rearview mirror, which is a surprise for such an expensive Toyota. That would have been an excellent feature to have. Getting into the throttle here, just pedal down. Gosh, it has, oh my gosh, it's so, yeah, it's an electric car. So you put your foot down, you get exactly the amount of acceleration that you want. There's no waiting around. It's very responsive. Pedal down, shoves you back, even though this only has 194 pound-feet of torque or whatever. It's immediate. There's no waiting. And driving this has been about as easy and as pleasant as possible as a daily commuter. As long as you don't have to drive 100 miles each way and then you'd be, you know, kind of have that range anxiety. The bZ4X, like, I have the technology I want, I have the amenities I want, the responsiveness I want, I have the smoothness that I want at all times. Is it as smooth as, let's say, the Lexus RZ, which costs, let's say 10 grand more than this? Where that vehicle excels is taking that quiet experience to the next level. I do get some wind noise, not a ton. It's just that the car's so quiet, I do notice it. And then I do hear other cars at times on the outside. And the RZ will definitely remove all sort of exterior noise with the acoustic glass around all the windows. It also has better ride quality. And the ride quality in here is really good. I would say it's probably, it feels kind of like a RAV4 hybrid, I would say, but it's obviously much quieter. But the RZ is far more like, it just soaks up the bumps a lot better, and any sort of tire noise and road noise is really diminished on the RZ. But otherwise, this is very much luxury grade compared to like an RX or like a Lexus RX or a Lexus NX. In terms of noise suppression, this is right up there with them, I would say. This has all the Toyota safety technology, so lane keep assist, radar cruise control, it's all here on the steering wheel, very easy to get to. This is definitely a newer style of steering wheel for sure, with the button layout, and it hasn't taken me any time to get used to. I feel like it's really intuitive. We can play with this one pedal driving, or should I say regen brake pedal. It is slowing the car down right now. It would be great for stop and go traffic that you don't have to use the brake as much. So right now it's just creeping at 3 or 4 miles an hour. And it makes the gas pedal much more dense. You got to push it a lot more to go anywhere because it has that double action feature now. And Toyota's done, I feel like, a pretty good job with the weightiness of it, but since it doesn't bring you to a complete stop, I find myself not really using it at all. But it's good to have it than not have it. And when the car's fully charged, Toyota won't let you use that function because it doesn't want to overcharge the battery, understandably. You know, if I were to own this bZ4X, I'd probably look or create my own little sticker kit that would go over this glossy black so I'm not blinded or reminded by the fingerprints that accumulate there. Visibility in here is pretty good. I feel like the windshield is rigged quite strongly backwards though. I like this little A-pillar window right inside the mirror that increases visibility. I don't have any weird blind spots. Visibility of the back window is fantastic, even with the headrest still in there. And something like the Prius, they've gone full-on design over functionality in a lot of ways, and you can barely see out of the back window in the Prius. So the Prius though has a workaround which gives you a digital rearview mirror if you feel like you need it, which, like I said, this vehicle doesn't offer that, strangely. And really, on a day-to-day basis, there's nothing that really annoys me other than the glossy black. But in terms of driving dynamics and characteristics and quirks, there's nothing weird going on here. Just got out of the Q8 e-tron last week, and every time you brought that vehicle to a stop, it kind of did this like slam on the brake, teeter-totter thing where it just nosedives. And that happened also in the Nissan Ariya electric vehicle. Don't have that issue at all. I can easily bring this car to a very smooth and predictable stop. And apparently that's not an easy thing to do in an electric car when a lot of the competition struggles with it. In terms of handling, well, you guys know Florida, it's pretty much straight and flat. But when I take turns at speed, this thing does do a really good job of feeling planted. There's hardly any body roll because the battery pack's so low. And it is, yeah, the steering feels good. So yeah, from a handling aspect, it feels really, really strong here despite it being a heavy battery electric vehicle. The bZ4X is a really good car. It's just really expensive. And if you are worried with range anxiety, it's not the car for you. This is only a type of car I can recommend if you can charge consistently at home. But if you're driving a lot out of town, it's not going to be the car that you want to get. Toyota has hybrids and plug-in hybrids that are going to fit the bill a lot better for you as well. If you need an electric vehicle, there are ones with better range as well as better charging capabilities from Tesla, and you guys know. There's a Mustang Mach-E right there. And that's something I feel like Toyota went really conservative with the power. Yes, it's faster than most of its cars in the lineup. It's probably about as fast as a RAV4 hybrid. And this costs a crap ton of money. That's the thing. It should, in my opinion, because it costs as much as a RAV4 Prime, it should be every bit as fast as a RAV4 Prime with 0 to 60 around 5.5 seconds. A competition will do in about 5 seconds if you look at Hyundai and Kia's offerings with the dual motor setup. So it is what it is. Toyota went really conservative. That's their MO. You know, they say that their battery will last 10 years at 70% or greater, which is now going to be required by, I think, the CARB states to have that sort of longevity put in their battery. So Toyota's a little ahead of the curve in terms of the longevity of this battery system. And if you're buying it on the used market, it's probably going to keep its battery charge better than most competitors, especially since most people are not going to be fast charging this, which helps degrade the battery even quicker. And I mentioned the AC working really well on here. Not only does it work great, if you keep it at a low fan speed, I haven't noticed it actually taking a chunk out of the climate. And that's, I'm going to nitpick on a couple things right now, because if you have the fan on at 1 fan speed and not even the AC activated, it goes like it destroys your range, but it actually doesn't, because my efficiency is about the same, around 4 miles per kilowatt hour with the AC on. but the software thinks my range is absolutely decimated. So if I turn off the climate control, it just went from 114 miles to 146 miles, but there's no difference in the efficiency bar, miles per kilowatt hour efficiency bar that's going on. So the software in here is bad, and Toyota I expect a lot better. Not only is it not great when it comes to estimating your range with climate control on or off, it is not good at telling you how much battery capacity you have. There's nothing in this car that says you have X percentage left or you have X percentage to go if you're charging it. It just says, okay, well, you have 5 hours to go and you're charging, but we're not going to tell you the charging rate that it's charging at, and we're not going to tell you what percentage you're at either, which is very, very unfortunate. So I think there is a software update, but you have to bring it into the dealership for them to update it. And I don't even know if that update's available in the United States quite yet. And we don't have a movable visor here, but it does slide. I like the sliding function. So Toyota software is just like completely underbaked on this vehicle. I mean, from the drive dynamics, the overall experience in here seems to be like really, really good. I feel like I'm in a Lexus 9 times out of 10. But yeah, the software in here is nowhere near where it needs to be. Just on the basic things like battery percentage left and how fast I'm charging, I feel like I shouldn't be asking for that in an electric car. But that was completely overlooked seemingly. And also, apparently you can't fast charge more than twice in a day on the bZ4X, which is insane. They wanted to do that to protect the battery long term, but that's not going to help this vehicle's cause in any way. I think that software update improves it to 4 times of fast charging in a single day. But this vehicle doesn't have that software update. Like I said, I think you have to take it to a dealership for them to flash the ECU or whatever they need to do to update the software in here. But that's something Toyota can only improve upon. And what do I think is their first mass market electric vehicle? Well, they got everything, they got so much of it right in terms of a normal car and so many question marks in terms of electric car. Charging rate is not good. The software is very underwhelming. And the conservative power numbers in here, when you're spending this much money, you expect it to be every bit as fast as Toyota offerings in the same kind of segment that have a gasoline engine. And it's not, even though it's more responsive and quieter, like there are other benefits, but this electric car shouldn't be hard to get to like 200 kilowatts to get this thing to at least a 6-second 0 to 60. And instead we have, a 7-second 0 to 60, which isn't slow, but it's slow for this segment. Absolutely. Anyways, I'm going to head into the office where I'm going to tell you guys if you should be buying a bZ4X, what other competitors should you be looking at, and should you be buying this limited trim? Let's get into it.
Building the bZ4X, well, there's just 2 trim levels here in the States, XLE or limited. Now you can add all-wheel drive to that, but that is going to reduce your range. Even though you get a little bit more acceleration, maybe a half second faster to 0 to 60 best case scenario, but your range is going to go down by an extra 25 miles. So all-wheel drive, I would skip it and save about $1,500-$1,600. There's my Husky's hair flying around my face right now. So we'll build off the XLE because when you start building off the limited, it gets pretty darn expensive. Like I mentioned, $50,000. I think it looks best in black. I do like red. Red's the only color we have because the rest of them are silvers, grays, and black and white. So yeah, black or a red would be the way I would go because, like I said, the black doesn't make the fender arches and the bumper garnishes stand out so much. I mean, look how contrasty it is with the red. So I like the single tone action essentially, even though the black paint color is a slightly less black or slightly different black than the charcoal colored fenders and bumper garnishes. Okay, all-weather package, what is that? Heated steering wheel, heated front seats, worthless for me in Florida. $43,350. And the only way I can really recommend the bZ4X is since it doesn't qualify for the $7,500 tax credit if you buy it or finance it, you have to lease this guy to get the $7,500 tax credit. And in my opinion, leasing it is the best way to get most electric vehicles right now, to get that tax credit. And then you'll get a new electric vehicle in the next 3 years, which is going to be better in every single way because they're changing so fast. Toyota will have a next generation platform out in 2026, 2027. So have a 3-year lease and you can you have a lot better options at the end of that lease. Here's my recommendations. Only lease a bZ4X. You know, the cheapest I see them in my area is about $47,000. You know, they're getting price drops right now. Maybe they were overpriced to begin with. I think that the car, at least maybe not in the limited, but the XLE is a $40,000 car tops. And if you get that tax credit, that's great. I would pick other Toyotas for around $40,000 to $50,000, and that would be the Crown, not the Hybrid Max. That's pretty good. That's around $50,000 as well. So, you know, if you have that cash to burn, that's a good option. But the 40 miles per gallon all-wheel drive hybrid 2.5 liter Crown is excellent. I really like this vehicle. You know, the headroom is not nearly as good as the bZ4X, but that's the only thing I can complain about the Toyota Crown. It's smooth, it's comfortable, it's luxurious. So that's a better buy than the bZ4X, absolutely. And so is the RAV4 Prime if you can find them for MSRP. I think it's worth $50,000. It's still really expensive for a Toyota, but it gives you that in-town EV driving experience, around 40 miles of EV range, and then it turns into a 40 mile per gallon hybrid road tripping machine after that. So RAV4 Prime is a better buy than the bZ4X too. But if you have to go electric, you will not settle for anything else. Well, I understand. Like, maintenance sucks. You know, my minivan's in for maintenance right now, just scheduled maintenance, oil change. It still adds up over time. A couple oil changes a year will set you back a couple $100, tire rotations, and then, you know, fluid, all that good stuff. You don't have to worry as much in a fully electric vehicle. So if you can't find any good deals on the bZ4X in your area, its identical twin, the Subaru Solterra, is out there on the market, and I'm seeing them for better prices in my area than the bZ4X. So that's the route I would be going in. One, you know, the front end is slightly different, but the wheel arches are matte instead of the glossy premium looking fender arches. So, I mean, it's totally up to you which kind of finishing you like on your ridiculous overstyled fender bumper area. But other electric vehicles that I would rather have over the bZ4X is one of my favorite electric vehicles. It's a sleeper. It's a compact rocket. It has over 400 horsepower to 0 to 60 in like 4.5 seconds. Is the Volvo XC40 Recharge. It just got major refresh for 2024, but you might be able to find some 23 models that look the same for the most part, but you know, it's not as efficient. They updated the motor setup and the battery setups in the 2024 models, but if you can find a leftover 2023, get that under MSRP. I mean, I'm seeing them 5 to 10 grand under MSRP. That's a better vehicle than the bZ4X. So is the Hyundai Ioniq 5, which I like over the Kia EV6. It's just a styling and packaging preference for me. So that's why I'm showing you the Ioniq 5. But if you like the EV6 better, that's also a better option than the bZ4X. So the SE, this is the standard range here, will have similar fuel economy, or should I say energy economy, compared to the bZ4X. But I think you can find these in SEL. I think SEL here will have the full range. Which, look, $5,000 price drop. So this is a way better buy than the bZ4X. And it is styled a little bit better in my opinion as well, even though I don't like some of the garnishes and design choices around the fenders as well. What's with the manufacturers and their funny fender designs on their EVs right now? But anyways, the Ioniq 5 is a better pick, especially if you can get it for the low 40s. It'll have better range. Let me just click on this. I'm trying to think what the rear-wheel drive model's range is going to be here. 303 miles. That's excellent. But this charges way faster with the 800-volt architecture. The software for the EV is way better on here. Much, 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 much better EV than the bZ4X. And lastly, another electric car I would rather have over the bZ4X, mainly due to the styling and interior design, is the Nissan Ariya. Nissan Ariya can be very expensive, but there are big discounts going on. And I took out the, there's one trim level in here, which is the base model, which only gives you, I think it's the Engage models, has a smaller battery pack, only gives you 200 miles of range. Can't recommend spending any money on that. But if you can get this guy, this is going to have close to 300 miles of range. I just drove one not that long ago. I want to say got around 290 miles of range with my sort of driving. I like the design of this a lot better than the bZ4X. And the interior, as much as I like the bZ4X's interior for the most part, besides the glossy black, really like the interior of the Nissan Ariya. Let's see here, like pulling up this image. Yeah, it's cloth, but this layout is just more pleasing to me. Feels more premium. The ambient lighting, just a lot more attention to detail, kind of like the synthetic wood. It just looks luxury like. And no, I don't have like, you know, those actual buttons for climate control and things like that, nor does the bZ4X, right? Nor does the Volvo XC40 Recharge. So like, but you know what does, I'm pretty sure, is the Ioniq 5. I think the Ioniq 5 has a more functional interior. Let me pull it up for you guys. There it is. So you have a volume knob, you have just a better little display down here for climate control and whatnot. But yeah, I like the technology in here. Oh man, I love the Ioniq 5. I'm gonna shut it down there. bZ4X, it's a okay first attempt from Toyota. Build quality is great. Design is okay. The refinement, I feel like the refinement of it is as good as any other EV out there. It's just that the software, the range, the charging is lacking, and that will all be improved with future Toyota EVs coming down the hatch. So anyways, I'm going to end there. I will see you guys down below. There's just a lot of EV I didn't even mention Tesla other than the intro where Toyota worked with Tesla to have their first EV on the road, which was the RAV4 electric. And so you have Tesla as a huge competitor and the segment leader with the Tesla Model Y, which I know a lot of people would pick that over this car just because you got that Tesla recognizability. It's kind of like the Apple effect, if you know what I mean. You also have the Tesla charging network, which is a lot more convenient and numerous compared to anything else out there. So anyways, I got to shut it down. Lots of things to talk about in the comments. Smash the like button if you made this far. I appreciate you, because that is a lot of time you spent with me today, and that is something that can't go unnoticed and unthanked for. So thank you guys. Have a great day and peace.